painting in a three-dimensional workspace while using digital texture and underpainting actions in the standard Adobe Photoshop Layers palette. As we open a new project, we will start with a pre-prepared image of Tyra Banks that has had the digital texture and underpainting action run on it, and has all of the light, shadow, and enhancement layers pre-generated along with the corresponding layer masks for the face of Tyra Banks. We chose a new image to introduce into the project, this being a skull dressed in the attire of an Indian chief in black and white format. First, we drag the Indian chief into the pre-prepared Tyra Banks face image, and immediately we can see the basic details of Tyra Banks' face and the easy placement of the chief image. This is because the light and shadow values of Tyra Banks' face reside in the layers above the newly introduced image of the Indian chief. This allows both real-time preview and scaling of your introduced image with no interference with the light and shadow details of the Tyra Banks' face. By highlighting the levels adjustment in the blue marked shadow layers section of the layer palette, we can use the light and darkness slider to adjust the shadow depth of the Tyra Banks face. After adjusting the shadow, highlight the gold marked highlights and levels adjustment layer. Adjust the brightness of the highlights with the light and darkness sliders in the levels dialog box. Next, highlight the enhancement details section, which is marked with orange color in the layers palette, where the levels adjustment gives you further control. Using the hue saturation slider also gives you additional color and saturation control. Next, we will add a gradient rainbow layer and set the blend mode to subtract. As you can see, you can cycle through the blend modes with the arrow keys on your keyboard until you find a look that pleases you. After you are satisfied with the basic image composition, we will be painting out light, shadow, and enhancement layer details with black paint painted on the individual light, shadow, and details layer masks. This allows you to control how the light and shadows of the Tyra Banks image interact with any introduced image in your project. Now we will paint on the gradient layer mask to reveal the whiteness of the skull's teeth and eyes. In this instance, the shadow and highlights on the top of Tyra Banks' head will be painted away on the layer masks to reveal the feather head dress of the Indian chief. Highlight the shadow layer mask and begin to paint away the shadows over the feather tips to reveal the feathers outside and forward of the Tyra Banks image. Use 100% black paint with a feathered brush as necessary. No masking will be required, as you can clearly see all of the image details as you paint. This ability to introduce and eliminate shadow and highlights allows you to paint images in or out to give you freedom and depth to your imaginative creativity. Be sure to paint out the shadow, highlights, and enhancement layer details on each of the corresponding layer masks. If you ever feel like you made a mistake, you can always paint any of these details back with white paint on each of the layer masks. Highlight the shadow values layer. Use a soft brush with 100% black paint to paint out the shadow of Tyra Banks' jaw from obscuring the teeth and jaw of the skull image. This makes your painting and introduced images seamless by hiding cut lines and other imperfections with the light and shadow layers. To operate the color and saturation adjustment layers attached to light and shadow values, use the colorization checkbox in the hue saturation dialog box for each layer. Take care. Tracy Mapes here for Digital Texture and Underpainting Actions, copyright 2025.